Welcome to the Motherhood Alliance podcast, the podcast dedicated to empowering moms and families on their health and wellness journey. I'm Brittany Suttner.
And I'm Drea. Together, we're here to explore holistic approaches that go beyond conventional medicine.
Each week, we dive into topics that matter most to you, everything from nutrition and mental health to alternative therapies and natural living.
We'll bring you the expert interviews, insightful discussions, and practical tips to make motherhood a little easier and help your family thrive.
Please keep in mind that this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to replace the advice, diagnosis, or treatment plans you have with your personal healthcare team. Please have a conversation with your trusted healthcare provider prior to making any changes or implementing any strategies or advice you learn from this podcast.
Whether you're a new mom navigating the early stages of parenthood or a seasoned pro looking for new ways to support your family's well-being, you're in the right place.
Here at the Motherhood Alliance podcast, we challenge the status quo, ask the tough questions, and offer a supportive community for moms who want to make an informed, holistic choice.
Thank you for joining us on this journey.
Let's get started. Hi, we are Brit and Drea from motherhoodalliance.com, and we are excited to welcome you to a 4-episode series with two of the amazing ladies from Alba Birth Center. Katie is a licensed professional midwife who joined Alba in 2016 and has attended over 350 births. She is a skilled educator who brings a wealth of wisdom and is incredible at breaking down complicated topics so her clients can feel supported and informed, and you'll hear that in these episodes. She is a strong advocate for environments that support physiological birth, and Katie loves coffee and has 2 young kids who were born in an out-of-hospital setting under midwifery care. Aubrey is the CEO of Alba, and she oversees the day-to-day operations and communications. She is a huge advocate for birth choice and is passionate about providing top-notch care for families in Northeast Wisconsin. And Audrey also brings a unique perspective to our conversations, as she personally has experienced the difference in birth settings as a mom who has given birth in both a hospital setting and at Alba Birth Center. This 4-part series with Katie and Aubrey includes some really fun topics, including the history of midwifery and current birth choices, the ancestral wisdom of birth, super cool, the cascade of interventions, what it is and how to advocate for yourself, and tips for partners during birth. Be sure to listen to all of them. All right, it's time to dive into today's episode's conversation.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. We have Aubrey and Katie here with us again. We had an awesome interview in our first episode with them, and we're super excited to welcome them back. So welcome back, ladies.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, we're so excited. This topic is going to be really interesting. I think it's going to be eye-opening for a lot of people. As far as the history of midwifery and just kind of delving into a little bit more of the ancestral wisdom behind it. Yeah. So can we just start off with just a question about, like, what did birth look like 100 years ago, 500 years ago?
Yeah.
And who supported mom during that labor delivery? Like, what did that look like? And maybe how did that change into what we're looking at, what conventional birth looks like today?
Yeah. I think first, if you didn't listen to the first episode, you should do that and just really understand what is midwifery care, because a lot of people don't even know it's an option in our society. Birth is something that's been happening forever, turns out. And so it's actually one of the most well-oiled machines out there. And what we have done to birth in our society in this day and age in 2024 is we have turned it into a business, really. And what we get to see as midwives, so what I get to see from my lens and from my point of view, is I see a lot of women longing for birth that is ingrained in their DNA, but they do not know how to get it, or they had an experience that was completely opposite and they go searching for it. And I know Aubrey has, just with her own 2 births that she's had, she can share a little bit more on that and what her takeaways were. Birth used to be a normal everyday occurrence. Everyone acts like birth is like this crazy thing that happens and it's unexpected every time. Well, turns out the baby gets in, the baby comes out, right? It is quite simple. Birth is simple and physiological. Now, there are some times where we need to call upon higher level skills and care, and we're grateful for those people and those providers and those experts in our field and in the medical field. For the most part, though, women know how to birth. You don't need to teach a woman how to have a baby. They know how to do that already. Birth 100 years ago used to be at home all the time. Like, that's just where birth happened because there were not as many OBs. OB and obstetrician is really a new kind of physician. So birth 100 years ago used to be just kind of surrounded by the aunties of the village, the women, just They were called lay midwives because they weren't credentialed, if you will. But lay midwives are women who have attended many, many births. So essentially just a midwife, right? And people who just call upon wisdom around birth and what is normal and what is not, what is physiological. So birth 100 years ago was much different. They were all at home for the most part. C-sections weren't really a thing because it wasn't really needed. Also think about this too. When we think about ancestral birthing, think about what our great-great-great-grannies used to be doing. They used to be up at dawn doing their, chores, if you will, out in the fields. They were on hands and knees. Their body mechanics were much different than our bodies these days.
Absolutely.
They weren't sitting in chairs. They weren't sitting at desks. They weren't driving in cars for 4 hours a day. And so when we think about ancestral birth, it's a bit unfair, right? We live in a different time. So I think I was born in the wrong era. I wish I was born 100 years ago so I could actually see like birth just happened and you just like go into labor, you have your babies overnight, and then you wake up and you get back at it, right? I don't recommend that, by the way. You should take some time off.
Probably, yeah.
But if we look at how they used to birth, it was much less dramatic and much more innate. And it was just trusted. It was a trusted experience. It was a celebrated experience. It was a healthy experience. And what we've done is we've kind of flipped it upside down. We've made a business out of birth and we fear birth. We teach women to fear birth. Look at Hollywood. I mean, just watch a movie.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my gosh. It's immediate fear from the second that waters break, which never happens, by the way. From the second that woman even gets pregnant, it's like, oh my gosh, okay, you're in for it, basically.
Yeah.
We have deconditioned women to trust what is in their DNA. So if you think about how your great-great-great-grannies used to birth, that wisdom that is passed down, which it is, by the way, whether or not you believe it is, how we birth our children matter, which is why I'm such an advocate for physiological vaginal birth, if at all possible, because our bodies are ever changing. Our society is ever changing. If we keep birthing babies via C-section and with drugs and inductions, and we're not allowing for a hormonal shift to happen the way it should, and we're not allowing babies to come through pelvises, eventually, and this is a long time from now, eventually this might be an old practice, a dead practice, right, of giving birth. I pray that never happens. I hope that doesn't happen. But calling upon ancestral wisdom when it comes to birth and just sitting in the presence of a physiological process is what it used to be. And now it's not at all. And so like I said, and Aubrey can share a little bit about her birth experience, but we see a lot of women come through longing for that experience and they don't know what it is. They're trying to put their finger on it. You can see it. It's like you can see the wheels turning in their brain. They're trying to find it, capital IT. And I'm not saying that the birth center has it, but the birth, any person that supports physiological birth is what you're looking for, because you will be fulfilled through your birth experience. It can be a very empowering and rewarding and even a redemption. Like it can be redemption from after a birth experience that didn't go how you wanted it to go. And I think it's super special to watch. I get it. I mean, I have a very special vantage point, right? I get to sit in the corner and watch women claim this all day long, multiple times a day. And so I do have a bit of a different, viewpoint on it.
What a blessing. That is
so cool.
Just the coolest
it's really
job
cool.
ever.
It is. I mean, it's heavy, right? Like it's a heavy position to sit in, but it is so cool to just sit there and watch a woman redeem herself.
I have a question to take a piece that you just said a little bit deeper. You said that you can see like the longing in women's eyes, and I can like feel that. Back
I feel
to when
that
I was
deeply.
pregnant with my kids.
I feel it.
Yeah,
I know
like
what you're talking about.
You just want to do things the natural way that your body was made. But how can you help women tap into that during pregnancy? So I think currently, like you said, there is a lot of fear.
Yes.
Excuse me, around birth. How can you help them tap into that confidence and that wisdom during pregnancy to prepare themselves?
This is going to sound easier than it actually is, but if you have someone in front of you, whether that's a provider, whether it's a class, whether it's even your own research, which is equally as helpful, giving you the options. If you know the options, and then you also know true informed decision-making, true informed consent. If I say to you, let's talk about epidurals. They're easy. Everyone knows what an epidural is, right? Epidurals are placed all the time. But is anyone actually getting informed consent about that, about the risks of an epidural and the benefits, right? The benefits are your intensity goes down. That is a big benefit for some women who need that too, with different traumas in their past, a labor that's really long and hard, a malpositioned baby. There is absolutely a time and place to call upon that intervention. But as much as we're going to talk about the benefits of it, because we all talk about the benefits in our society of like, oh, an epidural, you're going to love it. You can just sit there and then you just get a baby. Well, let's talk about the risks of that as well, right? They're putting fentanyl in your spine. Just for the record, they're giving you a high dose of fentanyl into your spine. And also, it's not just a one-time deal. That goes into the baby's system as well. And so let's talk about both sides of it. And I think if you have someone in front of you, especially as a first-time parent who comes in and they're like a deer in the headlights where they're like, I don't know, someone told me to come here, so I did. And they show up in front of us and you can see the longing of like, I want to do this I'm putting air quotes around this, the right way. Well, there's going to be a whole bunch of different definitions of the right way. And so it has to be your way. So for example, when a mom comes in and is like, what? Well, we're talking about vitamin K injection. Let's give that example because it's an easy one. And they're like, we're not sure what to do. What do you think? I'll say that it doesn't matter what I think. What are your initial thoughts on it? So turning the tables back on them, like, I don't know what we should do around circumcision. Well, do you want to do it or not? I'm not going to tell you my opinion, right? Because you have to come to that. I can tell you the risks and benefits of these interventions, but immediately I will turn the question back. Like, does that feel right to you? In your gut, why are you asking me that question?
Well, I think that's a really good thing for the people listening to this podcast too, is that just like ask yourself these questions.
Yes.
Like, is it about circumcision? Like, why do I want to do it? Should
Right.
I do it? Like, and then look into it.
Yes.
Ask yourself all those questions.
Yes. I often give people the example, especially first-time parents, because it is so tricky to make these decisions when it comes down to like, you are the people that have to decide this for your child. Make 2 beds in front of you. One is that you do it and one is that you don't. Which one could you sleep in more if an adverse reaction happens, right? I often always give people that visual because you will have to sleep in a bed if something happens, whether you give it or you don't give it, whether something happens or it doesn't happen. Which bed could you sleep in at night? Because you will have to if something happens, right? And just giving people actual power back to make the decisions for themselves rather than me telling you, well, everyone does it, so you might as well do it this way. No, that's not actually how this works because this is your child and this is your experience. And so,
well, and I love how you keep bringing it back to education, right? And this is where we need to take responsibility as parents ourselves.
Yeah.
Into, yes, we, can do some research ourselves, but then asking the right questions to your provider, no matter who you're seeing, because just because somebody says you should do a vitamin K injection, well, why?
Yeah.
You shouldn't just follow like a blind sheep, right?
Yeah.
Like ask those questions. And so I love how you are talking about intertwining that education into your appointments.
Oh yeah.
I just remember I had, I went to a different different midwife for my first one. Well, both of them. But I was just shocked with the amount of options that I had. Like I didn't, like some of the routine tests that they do within the hospital. Yes. And I was like, wait, I have a choice with that? Like I don't have to do
optional.
this. Yeah, that's what she said.
From
I was
the
like,
jump.
What?
Yeah.
Like I had no idea. I thought it was just like, you have to do this. You have to do this. We assume you're doing this. So here's that paperwork.
Yes.
And it's just like people are guided through it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just don't know better.
Right. And this also goes back to ancestral birthing and what it looked like 100 years ago. Unfortunately, providers, especially in a hospital setting and maybe even a high volume birth center that is really kind of cranking out births every month, they are not allotted the time that they even want. So a lot of times the OBs get the targets on them. It's really the policymakers behind the curtain. I mean, it's so frustrating when you might have I'm putting air quotes around this, a good one, right? Like you find a provider. Aubrey had a provider. She was wonderful. She still continues to be wonderful. I am sure she is not an evil person, right? There is no way that they are going home being like, wah, got them, right? Like that's not how it's going. They have absolutely no ability to even change the system if they tried. It would be they would get fired, right? Even if they spoke up. And so even nurse midwives in a hospital, right? They follow a little bit more of a midwifery model of care, but they're still under the medical model and under OBs. And so even them, right? Like I have thought about going back and getting my master's, and is that something I want to do? And I actually would not do that because I lose autonomy if I do that. And so again, yes, your provider and what it looked like 100 years ago. 100 years ago was probably just a prenatal in your living room with your auntie who was like using a wooden thing to listen to your baby's heartbeat. And now we have so much technology, and I will even go as far as to say too much technology when it comes to birth, because we are trusting technology the way that we used to trust our hands and our eyes and our instincts. And that is so different from ancestral birthing. That is so incredibly different. So if you have a system that's pushing technology and pushing algorithms and pushing, believe it or not, if you are a VBAC mother, which is a vaginal birth after cesarean, There are hospitals that use algorithms to tell you your percentage of success for vaginal delivery after C-section. So they will put your information in. They put your weight, your height, your age, how many babies you've had. They put in how long ago your C-section was. They put in a whole bunch of numbers, and a computer algorithm will pump out a number. You have a 64% chance of a successful VBAC.
I mean, I've heard people say that. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I did not know they put that into an algorithm.
Oh,
for
I
that.
can't-
It just like makes my blood pressure go up. I'm like, because I very much am like someone who just wants to be out in nature and feel that like natural, just get back to our roots, right? Like, let's simplify our lives again. And so that just like, that's just too much.
I
And
know.
that's just one example too, I'm sure.
Yes. I mean, it's just like if we talk about ancestral birthing, really what that looks like is you stay home, right? You just stay home and do your thing. And we even see women who will come to us and they have birth plans, and then it goes out the window even for them. And they are just like, actually, I might just stay home and I might just do this on my own. And of course, those are not often. We're often there to support these women through their deliveries. But even that, it's like if a provider is upset about that situation happening, there's something wrong there. Why? Why would you not be like, dang girl, you go with your bad self. Like, I'm so proud of you for birthing on your kitchen floor. This is great. I'm so proud of you. Instead, it's like, oh my gosh, you need to hurry in here. We're going to need to admit the baby to the NICU. We have to check on the baby. What if something's wrong? You're like, I just had a baby at home. We're fine. Right. And it's so different from what it used to be. And really, it's the last like 30, 40 years that things have really begun to change. In European countries, about 80 to 90% of women are seen by midwives, and about 10 to 20% are seen by OBs. And we are absolutely opposite here. So we are 90 to 95% seen by obstetricians, which are trained surgeons in the obstetrical field. And then about, 5 to 10% are seen by midwives, and either that's in a hospital or out of hospital. Now, our hospital midwives are much different than out of hospital midwives here. They do have to follow certain policies, different parameters that they get, and their autonomy is a little bit less in a hospital than if they were to practice out of hospital. And that can be good or bad, right? We're so grateful for the nurse midwives to kind of adopt a little bit more of a holistic approach inside the walls of a hospital. Unfortunately, it doesn't always turn out that way if that midwife isn't on call or if they get an OB there or whatever the situation is.
Do you happen to know like the history of like when OBs really started to be more prominent,
Yes.
and why?
Yeah, it was around like the 60s and 70s that OBs really started to kind of take off. It used to be a lot of just like family practice, private practices, family doctors that would see pregnant women, and then midwives. And so a lot of people were born at home. There's a wonderful movie that everyone should watch. It's called The Business of Being Born. It is from like the early 2000s, and it is hilarious because it looks like it's from the early 2000s, but it's a really good movie. It's very hard to find now. You have to like go on thebusinessofbeingborn.com and like find it in chunks, and it used to be in the libraries, and then they wiped it. It used to be on YouTube. They wiped it. Netflix wiped it. It's a really good movie to just see how the shift happened from home birth, out of hospital birth, midwifery care, and family practice care to then obstetricians. A lot of it had to do with just the advancement in technology. We're so proud of the advancement in our medical system that I think we got a little too proud in this category. Like I was talking about, I think in the first episode, we sandwich maternity care in between sick care on the floors. Literally, we have sick care, healthcare, sick care, and then we expect that floor to run differently, which is under the same policy. So I don't know why we would expect different, right? That's the definition of insanity.
Yeah.
And so it really shifted around that time. And it also shifted around the time that we got continuous monitoring for babies. That used to just only be for monitoring babies for cerebral palsy in utero. And that has taken off. So now that's a standard of care. It used to only just be like the one-offs for the babies that we were worried about. It used to only just be used for them. And now it's used on all moms, really, unless you advocate for yourself and ask for a different type of fetal monitoring. Ultrasounds took off. We got a look inside, and that was like huge deal, right? We could see inside what was going on inside. And so people needed more and more and more of that. And I will go as far as to say money, right? It is a business. And so we get moms in, we get the babies out, we get moms out, and it is wash, rinse, repeat. So there was a big shift in the late 90s for sure, or like 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s, for just, I don't know. I think it was a push with good intentions that we wanted to help mothers.
I think it's always a push with good intentions.
And then it ends up being like, oops, we totally overshot that.
Aubrey, I'd love to hear a little bit of your story. I know Katie alluded to you've had two very different experiences. Did you have a challenging first experience that kind of left you craving that ancestral wisdom of having a different experience?
Not a challenging experience, really. I would say compared to a lot of moms that we see at Alba, I really didn't have a quote unquote traumatic experience in the hospital. It wasn't horrible. Um, it was during COVID, so that probably made it a little bit more challenging. It was in 2020, it was 21. Um, but I did experience, the cascade of interventions where my water broke and then I was on the timeline and then I wasn't progressing the way they wanted. So then they wanted Pitocin and I really wanted to do a natural birth. But any mom that is successful in a natural birth that has Pitocin, I will bow down to your feet and I will kiss your toes because it is challenging to stay strong, especially in the hospital space when it's so quick to be like, just give me an epidural. So quick. So I did get the epidural. And luckily I was fortunate. My body just really did what it was supposed to do. And I did have a vaginal delivery. Again, my OB wasn't on call and so she wasn't there. So it was a doctor I wasn't familiar with. And, her and I had a plan. And, so when I was talking about it with that doctor, her initial response was, well, I don't do that. And so that was just like this initial fear, that I had. And again, like I said, luckily my body just really kind of did what it was supposed to do. I'm very fortunate for that. So no, I didn't have a horrific hospital experience. It was fine, I guess. But yes, I did have that longing of like, I wanted something different. And I think Katie alluded to it before of like, it wasn't horrible, but I'm disappointed, but I don't really know what I'm disappointed in. And it wasn't until that I had Tate at Alba where I was like, oh, that's what it's supposed to be like, where it was, even with the hospital experience not being horrible, Alba was, and the midwifery care at Alba was like night and day. I mean, it was not only just for me, but also for my husband. It was huge for the both of us, huge for our connection. It made me feel empowered and strong. I came out feeling like a superwoman. It's changed the way I've looked at life. It's changed the way I feel like I've parent. It was completely transformative just from every avenue. And yeah, Tate came fast and furious at the hospital. Again, my body did exactly what it needed to do. And I just leaned in on that. And I think the big thing that I think made the difference was that I was able to walk into that space and feel 100% safe. I didn't have to advocate for myself at all. I went through my entire care with these women and I knew I was surrounded by women who knew exactly what I wanted without even having to speak. And that was the huge difference for me, as well as for my husband, because in the hospital, he was just kind of pushed in the corner, and at the end, they're like, come hold a leg, they didn't talk to him. They didn't tell him what was going on. And that was really, he felt really dismissed. And my husband's a very, he's a man's man. He is the protector of the family. He's big, he's burly, he's bald headed with tattoos. He is the protector, and he felt so powerless there that it really hurt his soul. Like he was like, how do I protect my family? How do I protect my son? And at Alba, it was, completely different. He knew exactly what was going on. They communicated with him the whole time. He felt involved. He was involved, as much as he wanted to be, which is nice too, that, our dads can either be in it 100% or they can just let the midwives do what they need to do. And he's, the dad's there for mom when she needs it. There's just such a nice balance, but, yeah, it just was a totally different experience and I would do it again. Although Katie laughs at me when I say that because after I was like, Katie, I can't believe our moms do this. Like, this was so hard. She's like, give it 3 days. In 3 days, you'll be saying you're ready to do it again. And I was like,
I don't
F
believe
you.
you.
I
Yeah.
don't believe you. This was so hard. I can't believe I'm downstairs in my office while moms are doing this upstairs every day,
Just like
multiple
hanging
times a
out
day.
and somebody's up there doing it.
And
Yeah.
she was right. Within 3 days, I was like, I could do that again.
It's like a high.
It is
a
a
drug.
total
It is
high.
psychedelic for sure.
I had a birth center birth and it was a high.
Oh my
after,
god, it's like
days after.
otherworldly. It is otherworldly, and it is so spiritual, and no one talks about that part. Like whatever you believe in, it's spiritual. Whatever realm you believe in, it is tangible. It is. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Well, and then just to be tucked into like this warm, comfortable bed with your baby and nobody's touching you or touching him, and you just get to just spend as much time as you want loving on him without anybody bothering you. And I mean, that's just,
It's so huge.
different.
Like you can't even put words to it. It's
Yeah, and
amazing.
even just to just wrap up that thought, that is back to ancestral of the protectiveness of mothers and our longing for our babies to not be further than skin to skin away from us. And that is ancestral birthing, right? Like back in the day, you were told by your aunties you weren't allowed to walk for 30 days. Like we'll feed you, we'll put warm socks on you. You're going to just nurse your baby and sit here for 30 days. And that was accepted and welcomed and normal. Now it's like the bounce back movement, which
man.
I absolutely cannot
Oh my
stand.
goodness.
Yeah, that's trigger. Wow.
That's trigger us.
Whoa, sorry about that. But it really is that, like everything that Aubrey said about just being tucked in and warm. We always say warm feet, warm uterus, warm food, warm uterus. Like that warmth of postpartum should be there. It should not be cold. It should not be sterile. Your legs should not be up in stirrups. It should not be the baby across the room for you. It should not be the baby out of the room from you. It is just ancestral. It's in our DNA to want to be with our babies and to kiss our babies and to smother them, right? Like to just want, right? All moms have had the feeling of like, I want to take a bite out of you. And I don't know why I want to do
absolutely.
that, but I do. And that is ancestral. That is in our DNA. And then people are like surprised that they feel like this. You're like, I don't know, my baby smells so good to me. I'm like, well, your baby doesn't smell good to me, but I get what you're saying. And so it's ancestral. This is the point. It should be called upon every birth.
This is so beautiful. I love this.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any encouragement for women who did not have a good first birth experience but plan to have more children and they really want to embrace this ancestral wisdom, but maybe they're stuck in that fear of trauma that they've experienced in the past?
Sure.
What would be your advice for them?
First, you have to do inside work. There is no provider, no woman out there that's going to be like, well, just do it this way and you'll be healed, right? Their birth trauma is so deep. Oh my gosh, we could go on for hours about birth trauma. Birth trauma is deep in a different way because every time you look at your baby, you're reminded of that trauma, right? It's not just something that you can work through. I shouldn't say that. You can work through it and you can learn to accept that birth experience as it was. And I think it's also helpful to identify, was this a trauma that was caused by me, or was this a trauma that was caused by a system that is not for women, right? Because there's a difference. And if you can identify like, okay, here are the three main things that I was super disappointed in. I didn't want an epidural, but they really pushed it and I felt like I needed to get it. To call upon those experiences and to walk through those and relive those and say, okay, I don't really feel like I let myself down. I feel like the one nurse that kept asking me every time she came in the room was really pushing for that. And in a moment of fear or a moment of doubt, I decided to call upon that expertise. And from that, it led to X, Y, and Z, which is the cascade of interventions, right? Starts somewhere and ends elsewhere. So I think calling upon your own experience, there are birth trauma counselors out there now, which is a wonderful thing. Super wonderful. We have a resource for people. You can reach out to Alba. We have a resource for people now that we just found and we really love them. But also then, again, redefining, what do I want out of my birth? And what is it that I didn't get from this experience that I need to look for in this experience? And then don't do the same thing twice. Do not do the same thing twice. Run after the provider or the team or yourself who will give you the birth that you want to have, that you think you want to have. Is there going to be fear? Absolutely. We work through fear up until the time the baby exits the body, right? There are moments that you have fear deep down inside of you that doesn't come out until you're actually pushing. And we have to work through that as well. And so I think don't be hard on yourself because a lot of birth trauma is not caused from oneself. Be encouraged that there are options that you can call upon and there is help that you can, work through your birth trauma and come out on the other side feeling empowered and redeemed through a new experience or just feeling like you close the chapter on that birth trauma. So
thank you for sharing that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
How can interested listeners contact you guys and get a hold of you or learn more about you?
We've put a lot of energy into our website, has a lot of information on there, but they can call us, send a message through our website,
AlbaBirthCenter.com.
albabirthcenter.com.
You also
Yeah.
are very active on social media.
Yes,
as
we
well.
are Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
Just Alba Birth Center.
Yeah, we'll make sure we put that in the show notes too.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for joining us,
Thanks for
ladies.
having
This is
us.
such an
Thank you.
empowering conversation.
If you enjoyed this episode, would you consider leaving a rating or review or sharing it directly with a friend who could benefit from the information? We know that you're a busy mom or caregiver, and our goal is to make your life easier by bringing tips and tricks directly from experts into your earbuds. By sharing this episode with someone you love, you can play a critical role in helping to make their life easier as well. We appreciate your time and thank you for being a part of the Motherhood Alliance family.